Hello everybody, welcome again to God's Daytimer. I'm glad you're here today. We're continuing on in looking at 1 Peter. We're in the 3rd chapter, and we're talking about the challenge that he set forth really in chapter 2, that we were to live such good lives that ultimately people would be impacted for the kingdom, and we've been talking about how to do that. And the last time we got together we talked about thinking about sharing our hope. And that Peter puts it a little different way. We often think of sharing our faith, and I said a lot of times that makes us feel like we've got to be really theologically ready. But the idea of sharing our hope is a little different. It's really just telling our Jesus story. Well, he continues on in 1 Peter with some pretty interesting scripture. I want to read verses 18 through 22 to you, and that's what I'd have you consider today. It says, "For Christ died for sins once for all, the righteous for the unrighteous, to bring you to God. He was put to death in the body, but made alive by the Spirit, through whom also he went and preached to the spirits in prison, who disobeyed long ago when God waited patiently in the days of Noah while the ark was being built. In it, only a few people, 8 in all, were saved through water. And this water symbolizes baptism that now saves you also. Not the removal of dirt from the body, but the pledge of a good conscience toward God. It saves you by the resurrection of Jesus Christ, who has gone into heaven and is at God's right hand with angel authorities and powers in submission to him." I think this is an interesting verse, and at some level I believe this verse talks about in the days of Noah that Jesus, pre-incarnate through the Spirit, was there with him and through him preaching to the world around him, and that the very building of the ark would have invited conversation, and that this conversation, unbelievably, there's a helicopter going by right now, so if you can hear that, I apologize. But this whole the people would have asked questions of Noah, I believe, that because they'd see this thing in the middle of the desert, and he would have the opportunity to tell them what was coming, and that they would have decisions to make, and yet it says that at the end of all that, only 8 people ultimately decided to get in the ark, and that we need to remember that as we are supposed to share our faith and our hope, we need to do that knowing that the results are always on God, and that our part is just to obey and to do what he calls us to, and he calls us to live life in such a way that it makes a difference. So think about that. Sorry about the helicopter, and we'll see you soon. All right, be blessed and kept.